How are you, everyone? We're so glad that you're here. Oh, it's going to be a great program. My guest today has written 4 of her 5 books in less than 6 weeks. No kidding, no kidding. And she has a formula for getting the book from our head to the written page. She's going to tell us about it in today's program. Hi, I'm Patricia Durgan, and this is Marketers on a Mission. We present marketing tutorials and interviews by and for Christian writers, speakers, and artists. This is episode number 253. Working on my numbers. The three words in your books, Strategic Intent, with business book strategist Cathy Fyock. Hello, Cathy. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Patricia. I'm so excited to be here today.
You're so energetic. You're so accomplished in multiple fields. We won't cover all of that, but we've got some good stuff to talk about. First of all, tell me the very first question I have for you is, what is a possibility partner? And how does that apply to your work?
Well, I think that there's possibilities for all of us. And sometimes we only explore just a tiny bit of what those possibilities are. And part of the work of masterminds, or those who are thinking like the master, are thinking about the possibilities and encouraging one another to explore those possibilities. So when I first started in business, that was my whole mission, was to be a possibility partner. I've since changed my tagline just a little bit, because I think possibility partners, while I loved it, it was a little vague and didn't quite convey what it is that I do. So I have changed that tagline, but I still believe that I am a possibility partner.
I think so too. I think so too. And I particularly like your tagline, the business biz book, or the business book strategist. It's so clear, it's compelling, tells me exactly what I need to know, boom. And that's exactly what a tagline's supposed to do, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So that everybody gets it. And that's what I love about this tagline for me and my business, is that people get it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There are other people who might call themselves a book strategist, but you're sort of missing the mark. You've got it in there, that business, that word can change the whole dynamic. And would you, even though I hadn't planned on asking this, tell us why that's so important to be clear, because there are some people who are not going to want what we have, and that's okay. Can you elaborate on that?
That's right. Our book is not for everyone. Sometimes I know I talk with authors and I say, who is your book for? And they say, oh, everyone. Everyone could benefit from this book. Like, well, they might, but if you try to market your book to everyone, you're going to fail. So try to help me identify who is the ideal reader for your book. And getting that kind of clarity about who needs what we have to say is so important when we're beginning the strategic plan for our book and our development.
When I first came into this field 18 years ago, that was my answer too. And I learned over time, it's not that it's a no-no or you're wrong. It's just you're fighting an uphill battle with that vague, too broad description. So now when I run into someone who says, I'm writing a book, and I ask them that question, and when they give me that answer, I know, oh, you have miles to go.
Yes, some work to do. Some work to do. Yes, some discernment that is needed here.
Yes. So now, years ago, you were a expert in human relations for years and years. Then you and your mom built a thriving consulting business, also focused on employees and working with them and serving them and finding them and so forth. Then sadly, your mother passed away, and you found that you needed to reinvent yourself.
I did. So my mom, we just had the best relationship, and it was just, she was just an amazing woman. And we were such a great combination. I was sort of the big strategy person. She saw to all the details. And so it was just wonderful. We traveled together, and it was grand. But when she passed away, I lost my mom and my best friend and my coworker all at the same time. And suddenly I just felt like I needed something more in my work. And I wasn't sure what it was. And I sort of limped along for a couple of years. And then I thought, I need to be part of a team. So I went to be a part of a consultancy. only to find that really I'm an entrepreneur and I have no business working for anybody else. But it took me 7 years and 3 different consultancies for me to find that realization, or come to that realization. So so I did, though, and I knew that I needed to do something else, which was what kind of led me to this wonderful role of being a book coach.
I love the story about how Christ opened the next door to your next career through an invitation. You had someone at a national level of the Speakers Association heard randomly in a conversation that you had written a book in 6 weeks and said, "I want to talk to her and I want her to come and present at our chapter."
That's exactly right. I know. I mean, I would never in a million years have dreamed that this would be my perfect job. But this job is the perfect job for me. It's like I have been training and growing my whole life for this role. And it's such a God thing. It is such a God thing. And I know that, gosh, I'm just so blessed to be in this role. But it really came from him, because I would never have figured this out on my own. So I did. I got a call from the National Speakers Association, and they said, "Cathy, we understand that you wrote one of your books in 6 weeks." And I said, "Well, yeah, at the time I'd written 4 of my 5 books in less than 6 weeks." And he said, do you have a process? And I said, "Oh, that's a great question." And I thought about it for a minute. I said, "Yeah, I guess I do have a process." He said, "Would you be willing to give a program for our chapter?" And I said, "Oh, absolutely, absolutely." He said, but before you say yes, we'd really like for you to coach 2 of our chapter members who are working on their books. Would you be willing to do that and then give your program for the chapter?"
Oh.
So I said, okay, you had me at give a program. I was totally in, but I thought, this is going to be fun because I know it works for me. I don't know if it works for anyone else. So I coached these 2 women, and they said to me, "Cathy, have you ever thought about being a book coach?" And I said, "No. Is there such a thing? Is there a need?" And they said, "Oh yeah, there's definitely a need. There's a lot of people who want to write a book, who feel a calling to write a book, who know that is what their next thing is, but they don't know how to start, or they get started and they get stuck. So yes, there is a definite need, and there is such a thing." And I thought, well, that's interesting. So we finished the coaching process. I gave my program for the chapter. And once again, I've been a member of the speakers group for now 31 years. And so my friends came up to me and said, "Cathy, have you ever thought about being a book coach?" And I said, "Well, I have now." And I realized then that God was speaking to me and saying, "Cathy, I'm opening the door for you to walk through and to do this role that you have been uniquely born for, created for, trained for your entire life." And so that is the wonderful story, the God story about how I became a book coach.
He makes things so effortless, doesn't he?
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And here's the thing, Patricia, never has a teacher told me, "Gosh, Cathy, you are a good writer. You should become a writer," or certainly not a book coach. But I think that's how God works. He takes some of us that we think are so, I don't know, it's like we don't see the fit, but he sees the fit and he makes it work. And that's where the magic is.
I am not as successful as you are. Thankfully, it's not a competition, but the same kind of flow, ebb and flow. I know that this is my jam right here.
Yes,
He made it so. He made it so.
And isn't it exciting to be in the space that you are using all of your God-given gifts in such a fun and exciting way?
Yes. I'm grateful every single day.
Yes.
I'm ups and downs and all around, and I'm still very, very grateful.
Amen.
You said in one of your interviews that this is your retirement, and you're fine with that. You can't imagine doing anything else.
No, this is it. Until I drop dead, this is what I'm going to be doing because I love it. I love it. Now, I might be doing it fewer days a week, but I see that this is the rest of my life opportunity to serve and um, to be, the hand of God, working on His behalf.
Mm-mm. It's for some of us, you were successful before. I've been successful in other environments and fields of interest. But this is that longing that I've had for a long time. I'm sure it is for you, that
Yes.
you knew there was something else, but you couldn't quite find it, and it wasn't His time to show it to you and reveal it to you. But you just knew somewhere out there, and then He revealed it.
No, I know. It's been great.
How delightful! How delightful! Well, some of the testimonials of your clients, I want to share three.
Okay.
Joe DeCincy says that we kept trying, him and his team, he and his team, which you know him, but we kept trying to jump into the actual writing before we had to find our audience and the reason why we were writing the book in the first place. And we're going to dive into this because this is exactly what we're talking about today.
Yes, it is.
Everybody starts writing. You get the piece of paper and you get the pencil and you start writing. But there are preliminary steps that can really make or break not only the success of the book and your own sanity, but also in your book, which we're talking about today, On Your Mark, from first word to first draft in 6 weeks. There's no other way to get it done that quickly, is there?
I don't think so. I certainly don't know of another way, because I think you really have to be clear on what you're writing, why you're writing it, and who you're writing it for. And if you don't have those things down, it's going to be very, very challenging to get your book written.
Yes. And market it later.
Yes. Yes.
I like the fact that, and I agree with you, that we can start marketing it now before we've ever even written anything. And that's a topic that we talk about often on this program, and it's not in everyone's brain just yet, but we talk about it again and again without hounding people about it. It's so very important to have the long view before you start. What you say, the ink to paper, is that what you say?
Yeah.
Kimberly Skaggs says that the writing mountain has seemed insurmountable, but she's now beginning to see the summit as opposed to simply the climb. That is a good gift to give her and every one of your clients. How do you do that? How do you show people, help them grasp the vision of the summit and not just the obstacles to the summit?
Well, I think one of the things we do from the very onset when I'm working with a client is we start with the end in mind. The old Stephen Covey principle of having that vision for what you want your book to do in your life, in your work, in the work of others, in the lives of others. So to be starting with that point first is, and having that mindset of the purpose for the book, not only how it's going to help the world or help your reader, but how it's going to be integrated into what you do. So, for example, one of my authors has just written the most beautiful, beautiful book. It's called My Faith Sparkles, a memoir through breast cancer. And it is the most beautifully written book. It is just gorgeous. But she wants to talk. She's been in HR, and she, at some point, as she is approaching retirement age, is thinking, what is she going to do next? And she would like to start a ministry of encouragement. Oh. And so this book will be the cornerstone for her ministry of encouragement. And so starting with that end in mind, so having a vision of that, having a picture of that, is probably one of the most powerful things you can do to write your book and to market your book.
I'm hearing you say that you work out a writer's business plan, for lack of a better term. Some people aren't comfortable with that, but in the business world, that's what it's called.
That's right, the plan.
So it's not about only the book. The book is part of the bigger picture.
Yes, and I think it's always starting with this understanding that the book is merely a tool. That's the way I see it. It's not an end in and of itself. It is a tool. And so the more you can envision how the tool will be used in your business. For example, in my business, I as part of the coaching package, when someone starts working with me, I give them the book. They have the curriculum. There is an online program that goes along with the book. There's exercises to do. There are things that help them prepare for our work that we're going to do one-on-one. So it's an integral part of my curriculum and my platform and my value proposition, all of those things. But starting from that point is really powerful.
I can feel it. I can feel it. And my business background helps understand that you don't start building a building. No. Put the hammer down. Go to your office. Pray, think, ponder, create that business plan. Last one, Lisa, not the last one. The last one we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Lisa Withers. Cathy, you are a genius. I wanted to say how fruitful your writing prompts proved to be. I especially found inspiration in the letter to my readers. I have to admit, I did not understand how somebody could coach the writing process. I see now. Brilliant. Your clients are very loyal to you, aren't they?
They are. They're my tribe. They're my peeps. I love my clients. My clients love me, and it's just this giant love fest. And my clients love each other, and I think that's maybe one of the coolest things is that we are this incredible support community. So that as people have their new books coming out, we're on the launch team with one another. We're writing reviews on Amazon. We are cheering them all the way, and that is really because being as everybody probably knows that's listening, writing is it can be so lonely. It can be so isolating. And so being in a community of like-minded individuals who are there to love on each other and support each other and give each other ideas about, how to get over the slump or how to get through this challenging period, that is invaluable.
I agree. 100%. On your website, I think it's on your homepage, there's an invitation to a test, a quiz for the writing readiness assessment is what you call it. I love that.
I do too.
I think that it seems like it's so effective in helping people see, those who are doubting, see, I do have value in me to offer the world.
Yes.
Because the enemy, of course, he's not asleep. Well, especially the closer we get to following God, the closer we get to his perfect will for our lives, the more active the enemy is, correct?
Yes, very, very true.
Let me see if we have any comments or questions today.
Okay.
We have several people here. No, not any comments or questions yet. We're just getting ramped up. So, viewers, let me tell you something. It's important to note that this is Cathy's work. This is not a faith-based book. Rather, it is a business book written by a faith-based author. Okay? Yes. So what's the subtlety? Well, in order to honor my invitation to Cathy while still protecting the trust that you have with me, I want you to know that there are bad words in this book. I'm a Southerner, what I consider bad words. And Cathy's going to tell us a little bit about one particular that runs throughout the entire book, because there was how she chose to use that word for that essence. If you have a high tolerance for bad words, this is a good book and you will enjoy it. If you have a low tolerance for bad words like I do, I would suggest that you, instead of ordering it on Amazon, I'd suggest that you order it through a local bookstore and then just look at it before you purchase it. Easy peasy, okay? Is that all right with you, Cathy? Is that caveat?
No, I think that is perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Thank you.
When Kevin and I were writing the book, we really debated. We got some feedback from some early readers that said, we're talking about the negative voice in our head. The negative voice that says, who do you think you are? Why do you think you can write a book? What makes you think that you are the one. That voice is evil. That voice is wicked. And we had a name for that, and it was the B word. And we got some early feedback from readers saying, there's going to be some objections to that word. And we agreed. Kevin and I thought, yeah, there is. Let's consider another word. And we tried to find another word. But here's the thing, that negative voice is it's so negative, and it's so destructive, and it's so bad. We wanted to have a term that captured the badness. So that was our rationale. And some of you may have wanted me to choose a different word, but that's what we chose, and that's why we did it.
Judy Gordon-Morrow says, I'm glad to meet Cathy. I'm enjoying this. Thanks very much, Judy. It's always good to see you, friend. So now we're going to talk about, I'm just going to give you a rundown of the 3 things we're going to talk about, viewers, and then we'll dig in. Cathy's going to help us identify the book's purpose, the thesis statement, which is, I know what that is, but that's not a common term, so you might help us unpack that. And our target readers, we often call them our target market. She's also going to share some exercises that will help us create marketing magic as we write. Karen Whiting is a Christian writer and speaker, international speaker. She's going to join us tomorrow, and she often talks about this. As she writes, Cathy, she makes memes and collects quotes and resources. So when she's finished writing her book, she has a big file full of things that are resources of hers and other people's. She just pulls them right out. And she doesn't have to start from zero with her marketing plans. Makes me feel shivers.
Perfect.
So now you've got 6 chapters in the book. It's a quick book in the sense that it's not 27 hours to read. And it's clear writing. And it's to the point. I appreciate that. And one of the things that I most appreciate, and put it back up. One of the things that I most appreciate and value, it's practical and results oriented. No theories here. Thank you.
Welcome.
So tell us about the purpose. That's the first one of your first 3 chapters. Cover the purpose, the voice, the thesis statement, and tell us a little bit more about that. What purpose would it be? Could it be? How specific do we need to be, and why is that important?
Well, again, to see what the linkage is with your business plan, with your plan for how you're going to take your message out in the world. So if you're thinking that you're going to be preaching it out there, that's part of your business plan for getting your message out there. So how are you getting your message out? Now, for me, I think I mentioned this earlier, I wanted to offer a coaching package. I wanted to offer group coaching, and I wanted to have something online that would educate my clients so they knew how to write a book. Because it's one thing to write a book in 6 weeks, and another thing to know how to write a book in 6 weeks. So my book is really about how to do that. And so you have to learn the principles, you have to learn the basics. And so understanding how you're going to use it in your practice. I knew that I wanted to give many of my clients my book. I think all my clients have both my books on writing, and they're going to get my 3rd book on writing when it comes out. And I know, soon. And so but being very clear about what is the purpose for the book. Do you want to give it as just a calling card? Do you want to give it as part of your curriculum? With speakers, I ask them the question, are you going to want to have this augment what you say from the platform? Is this so folks can take a little bit of you home with them? Or is it the curriculum that they need to read in advance of your message so that they can really maximize the benefit of you being there and speaking with them? So having an understanding of the interplay of your book your speech, your consulting or coaching services, I think will be really important to have that kind of understanding.
I think about these things all the time, so this is really fascinating to me. We're not getting consistent audio quality. Can you move your mic a little bit closer to your
Sure.
mouth, possibly?
Sure. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is that a little better?
Say something else.
Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
That closer is much, much better.
Okay, it's gotten bent sort of a little bit here. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, great, great, great. We want to hear every word, of course.
Yes.
So the very first chapter is, why do you want to write your book? And that's the purpose statement. And Cathy mentioned several, so you're not just like going, you're asking people if they want to write it for income, if they want to write it for fame and glory, for business development, and all of those in their place with a specific client. They all fit, don't they? Each has its own place.
Yes, it does. There's not a right or a wrong answer. It's what will serve you and your message. What does your message need to get it out there in the world?
I love the long view, where we do have a plan of some kind, even if it's every plan changes.
Yes.
Can we just say that? Can we just linger on that for a minute? Because there are a lot of people who are watching, and you feel that if you ever don't make a deadline, if you change your direction, if you make anything alters your master plan that is down to the minute, the whole thing has to go out, the baby with the bathwater. Plans are made to change. They're a general guideline that should be flexible with us and our needs and our time frame. Is that right, Cathy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you need to have that basic plan so that you know the direction you're going, you know why you're going there, you have that general structure. But one thing we know from flow, I've done a lot of reading recently about flow and the state of flow, which is really just getting into that place where the writing is coming out and it's effortless. We all crave that, and we know that it's not often something we achieve. But one of the requirements for flow is having structure. So if you don't have a structure, if you don't have an outline, if you don't have those cornerstones built for your book, you're going to be all over the place, and you're not going to be able to get it done quickly or as effectively or as efficiently as you would like. So I think having that structure, knowing where you're going, knowing that it's going to be subject to change, but that's generally where you're going. So starting with the end in mind.
Yes. We have a comment. Adria Wilkins. Hey, Adria, it's good to see you. She says, I have to talk to those negative voices often. Maybe I need to name them bad names. She's laughing. Well, it's up to you, Adria. Your call.
Your call.
I have a bookkeeping business, and now that I'm writing about joy in my book, the Joy Box Journal, the negative voices always say, what are you doing writing? You are not a writer. I continue to read and write scripture to tackle this negative voice. It is a constant battle. Good for you, Adria.
Mm-hmm.
If the enemy can stop us before we really get some momentum going, we're easier prey. It takes less of his energy, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this negative voice I've given a whole presentation on just the negative voice because it is so overwhelming and so universal. We find that it's evident in every culture, in men and women, and folks of all walks of life. So none of us is excused, or we get a pass from the negative voice. So we all have to deal with it. And I think the more that we are venturing out and we're in new turf, we're in uncharted territory, sometimes where God is leading us to go, then I think that the more we tend to hear that negative voice.
Yes. Because we're challenging the darkness.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we are challenging. And we know who's mastered the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to your clients before we return to the book chapters,
yes,
the clients that Christ brings to you, let me preface this by saying that a lot of people feel like a coach is either not necessary are above them, okay? So out of their reach for one reason or another. So are there particular personality types that he brings to you? Are there people who are better candidates because they have a particular drive, or fill in the blank with us? Describe I know that you have across the board, both men and women,
I
different
do.
ethnicities, different ages, different topics, but do you see patterns in that?
Um, Almost all of my authors are working on nonfiction books about their area of expertise, but their area of expertise could be going through breast cancer, it could be seeing the sacred in the everyday, it could be in how to work with jerks, it could be in how to create a more compassionate workplace, it could be the basics of executive coaching, it could be how to enact change in organizations, so it could be any number of topics. But I would say it's an expert or someone who has mastered an area of knowledge, who has mastered some thought leadership, and who wants to bring that out in the world. That is a really good client for me. What I also found is that the best clients for me are not the people who love to write. The people who love to write will write. The people who don't love to write, so people who love to be speakers, they love to be on stage, they love to be, coaching people and engage with others. The whole idea of going into the cave to write can be very, very painful. So those tend to be my best clients. The folks who do not like to write but understand the power of writing and getting their message out in the world.
So I'm hearing you say that they already have a message. They're expert at it. They know what they want to say. They've said it in many different
Yes.
environments. They've walked the walk. Now they need to take it and shape it into a written form that is sequential and makes sense and is interesting and that can be marketed.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So, so almost all of my authors come to me with an area of expertise. So we're not doing research. In fact, anytime I hear an author coming to me and saying, "Oh, well, I need to first do a lot of research," I say, no, I think that's productive procrastination. Um,
Oh, I like that phrase.
yeah, it's productive procrastination. It's putting off what we most are dreading doing, which is the actual writing. So I have a lot of say, "Oh yeah, I need to research this a little more." It's like, no, you speak about this all the time. You're working with consulting clients. You know the subject matter inside and out. Go and write. And then what I say is, yes, there may be some research that you need to do, but it's just to fill in holes. It's to have that reference right, or that statistic right, or that quote perfectly said. It's not to get the general gist of what you're wanting to say. You know what you want to say. And research should be to fill little discrete holes that are in your narrative.
Perfect. Now, your book, of course, is how to write from first word to first draft in 6 weeks. I know that this intrigues people. I know that this pulls people into your sphere of influence.
Yes, it does.
And they're busy people. They've already been doing everything that they're talking about for years and years. Do they meet that mark, or is that their goal, or is it for them, the majority of your clients, the work is there. So I'm not suggesting that you're not delivering. Do they, is that their deadline? Do they inherit that deadline?
No, they do not. At first I thought, yes, we will get everybody to that. But here's the thing. People have lives. People have things that are going on there. People have clients. People have kids. People have life that gets in the way. And so I have learned it's a hook. It's something that I have been able to do. And some of my clients have been able to achieve that goal, but most of them do not have that goal. They want to get it done in the next 6 months, or in the next year, or the next 3 months. And whatever my client's goal is, that is my goal for them.
Yes.
I don't impose my goal on them, because I can't want the book more than they do. I can only support them in achieving the goal that they want to achieve.
But in marketing, if it's true and yours is true, you're not suggesting that this is a theory. You've done it yourself 5 different times. So
Well,
you
actually, I've done it more than that now. I'm finishing the 9th book actually now, and 2 of my books I have not done in 6 weeks. But 7 books I have done, so I know it's absolutely possible.
It's a good marketing technique to put a time frame on things. And our ideal, we say, you know this already, but viewers, if somebody asks you to do that, we hesitate. I don't know. What if they can't? What if they don't? That is not part of your equation at all. Not at all. This is what can be done. Then the burden is on them to do it or not as they wish. Right. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Cathy, Janet McHenry has a comment, and I lost it. Here we go. Janet McHenry. She has written, I believe it's 24 books, Cathy.
Oh, wow.
She knows whereof she speaks. It may be more by now. She says, I totally agree with Cathy. I prefer getting a proposal done first to focus my ideas and to make sure there actually is a market for my book.
Brilliant.
She's a wonderful person. She's a wonderful writer, and she's very productive for Christ. So then we talked about chapter 2 was why haven't you written your book before, and that's in the roadblocks, and that's where we meet the evil voice that we've already remarked on. Then we've got the thesis statement in chapter 3, among other things. Now, the things that I'm highlighting about each chapter are just some of the items, okay? They're not the whole chapter by any means. There's more information. I like the fact that you combine the thesis statement in this chapter titled On Your Mark, which is preparation, the thesis statement with supporting materials. So you're still giving people permission, so to speak, to do the research that you mentioned and fill in those gaps, but just don't spend all your time doing that.
Right. That's right. In fact, usually what I say to folks is start writing and then go back and do research when you need to fill those holes. But if you start out doing research, what sometimes happens is that negative voice can come back as you're looking at all this other writing that you're looking at, and the voice tends to say things like, this has already been said. Do you really need to say it again? This person has said it so beautifully. What are you adding to the body of knowledge as it relates to this topic? So sometimes the negative voice gets really, really active if we do too much research at the front end.
That makes sense. We really have to protect ourselves first before we can help anyone else with our message. Is it?
Yeah, we have to put the oxygen mask on ourselves before we put it on someone sitting next to us.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. The thesis statement, tell us about that. Or do you want to save that for some of the exercises you're going to share?
Well, I'll just touch on it very quickly. Basically, it's the answer to the question, and I'm wearing a magic button right now. It says, ask me about my book. And these are buttons that really are magic. The answer to this question is really your thesis statement. So if someone were to come up to me, and if I'm wearing this in my Panera, or if I wear it to church, or wear it on the airplane, somebody is likely, and they will ask me, so what's your book about? And then I have to articulate what it is about in a short, concise way. That's really your thesis statement. That's your book's 30-second commercial about what it's all about. And so I love using the buttons as a way to get clarity. Well, the buttons actually do several things. The button, first of all, it helps you set an intention. It helps you set this intent. I am an author. I'm not going to be an author. I am an author. The second thing it does is it allows you to gather market research on your book's topic, because as people ask you, well, what's your book about, Cathy? I'm going to have to talk about it. I'm going to see their reaction. I'm going to see what are the things they're drawn to? What are the things they push away from? I'm also going to get some great information because they're going to say something like, well, did you see the Wall Street Journal last week and what it was saying about this topic? Or did you read this publication and see this really interesting insight? And so you're gathering this information as you're going along. So I love the magic button for that. And of course, once you're published, you will sell books this way. One of my new authors, she said, "Oh my gosh, Cathy, her book was just out. It was just out a day, and she went to, I think, her local Starbucks, and somebody asked her there about her book. She of course whipped it out and showed them what her book was, and she sold it on the spot. She said, "It really is magic."
Okay, I really like that. I'm going to have to order some of those.
Yes.
That's brilliant. I also love that on boots on the ground market research. Sometimes it hurts your feelings or surprises you when you were so 100% sure you had a winner about this particular part of the book and found out that just fell flat. But you need to know now, don't you, as you're writing it?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So I think that whole idea of putting on your email signature things like author of the forthcoming book with the name of your book or with the cover mock-up can be a great way to do that. Posting on social media and asking questions about the things that you're writing about will also spur a conversation and will let you know what's really resonating with potential readers and what isn't.
Because we're going to find out sooner or later, but
that's right.
So much better when we have time to shift.
It is.
Let's see now. The chapter 4 is defining the audience and the competitive analysis, among other things. And nobody wants to do that competitive analysis. It's no fun. But tell us why it's so important. What we can learn.
Well, I think too, it's great to be able to build on the work of others. I think sometimes we develop more credibility when we show that we are well read. We know about other competitive works or works that have contributed to our thought leadership. Mm-hmm. So by referencing those things, I think it only makes us stand out as true professionals. Mm-hmm. So I think that competitive analysis can be extremely helpful in understanding the landscape of your topic and your area of expertise.
And it sounds like that would be another opportunity for the evil voice to come back because we're just it suggests that we're disproving the need for our book. Actually, we're looking for holes in other people's arguments. We're looking for how our take or our angle is slightly different. And then it's up to us, isn't it, to market it that way. It can be a strength, a gift, not something that's just another boring thing to do on the checklist. There's value to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what did the other author, what did they miss? What are you building on top of? What added insight can you bring? And then what maybe did they miss altogether? Or you have a whole new lens to look through. Yes. That is important so that you can position your book and knowing where these other thought leaders are.
And when we are standing with these thought leaders on equal ground, as far as the reader is aware, then they perceive us as a thought leader. And eventually in time, if we're not already there, eventually in time we will become there, fill that
Absolutely.
spot.
Mm-hmm.
Which prepares everybody for our next book.
Yes.
In chapter 5, we actually do the writing. So there's a lot of preparation time beforehand. We clean out things that don't need to be in our life or in our mind, the thoughts that are so negative and destructive to us. We figure out where we're going and how we're going to get there, what other people have done, what we will bring to the occasion that is different, completely different or slightly different, and how we will be able to market using that information. And we create our plan and we start writing. Sometimes that's the most intimidating part, is it? Do you find people that get to that stage and then do you feel that their brakes hit a little bit, or are they ready to plunge in now that they've done this prep work?
No. I think the number one question I see asked by my writing community is, how do I honor the time commitment that I've blocked on my calendar. That continues to be, so we block it on the calendar and we can do that. That's pretty easy. But honoring that commitment when another client is calling, or you're not feeling so well, or you've just had an exhausting day, or whatever it might be. So honoring that writing time is, I think, the hardest part of the journey. And yet, only by doing that do we get it written.
Then chapter 6 is fine tuning. And amongst the things that are listed in that chapter are editing. And do you offer the editing service? Do you suggest that your clients have professional edits?
It is imperative that you have a professional editor for your book. Yes. You must. I am not an editor. I need an editor. I need to be edited. I don't think anyone can edit their own writing. You only read what you intended to say, and you never really capture what it is that the reader is actually hearing. And that's why we must always Can I be any more emphatic? Yeah, I think it's so important. If we want our message to be credible in the marketplace, we have to have a clean manuscript. It needs to be a clean and professionally edited book. So,
yes. Amen.
Yes,
we talk about that often. In the month of January, we had an online summit, and that was just discussed consistently. It's just the thread that was just consistently. And then we had some live workshops where people were doing it live for us and helping us see what that would look like. It was very informative. All right, so this is the book we're talking about most today, On Your Mark, From First Word to First Draft in 6 weeks. But Cathy has many more books, and we're going to talk about one more right now. Would you show us that cover for Blog to Book?
I would love to. Blog to Book. And the subtitle is Repurposing Content to Discover the Book You've Already Written.
Yes. And you mentioned specifically, or I may be missing that, but if we have weekly blog posts for a year, we likely have consistent themes running throughout it that we haven't gone back and realized how powerful, how many pieces of information we could use to make a book, and then support that or supply extra if necessary.
Exactly. What happened, Patricia, I was attending the National Speakers Association annual convention several years ago, and within 24 hours, 4 people walked up to me and said, Cathy, I have all this content. I've been blogging for 4 years, 10 years, whatever. I know I have enough content for a book, but I have no idea how to put a book together. Can you help me? And I thought, yes. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to do a talk about that. And then I thought, oh no, I need to do a service about that. And then I thought, I need to have a book about that. So actually I did all of the above. I helped 2 of those individuals who came up to me at that conference. They were my first guinea pig clients, in addition to my book, which is actually a blog to book book. In that, what I did was identify 52 ideas and then see which ones I'd already written. And many of them I had already written in the 3 years I had been a book coach. So I repurposed all of those blogs. I thought, what are the holes that need yet to be written? I wrote specifically to fill those gaps. And within, I'm going to say 2 to 3 weeks, I had blog to book written, which that and my most recent book are my fastest books, because that's the way I put it together, and it's so fun and so easy.
I'm learning from you that it's so much more valuable. You already have a body of content. Body. It might be in several different formats. You already have a body of knowledge. pull from yourself first and then fill in the
Yes.
gaps as needed.
Yes. Some of the folks I work with have workbook materials. They may be presentation slides. They may be in all different forms and formats, but you can repurpose all of that content for your next book. I mean, it does need to be cohesive and fit together, but assuming that you have been passionate about a topic or an area, then you can be pulling that together, and you don't have to, you know, create something brand new. It's just putting it all together in a place that your readers, your targeted reader, can consume it, can get it all in one sitting or in one place.
Mm-hmm. The thought of the first time I heard this and grasped it, because I heard it a long time ago, but I didn't grasp it immediately because it was just like, that's too good to be true. That can't be right. I immediately pushed back on the idea. But the concept of repurposing something, you write one piece of content and you use it. And according to what it is, if it's evergreen, you can use it for years and years and years and years. I mean, because it's all factual and it stands the test of time. Imagining that some of your clients, when they get that, if they didn't have it before you started talking to them about it, do you see their mind sort of go, psh?
No, sometimes I actually see the light bulb going on above their head. It's so much fun. I did a workshop not too long ago for a group of speakers, and I really could see the light bulbs just turning on above their heads. It was so much fun because they were like, "Oh my gosh, I get it."
It's life changing. Now, one of your upcoming books is Imagination at Work.
Yes, yes.
About that, and you have great covers and you have great titles. I'm really
thank you.
my hat off to that. When is that coming out? What's it about? Sounds obvious.
Imagination at Work is actually one of my anthologies. I have pulled together 9 anthologies. This is my 9th one, and each one has, I don't know, from 5 to 15 authors, each bringing a different perspective about the topic. So I'm not actually writing in the book at all, but I'm the project lead for pulling the project together, for coaching the individuals who are contributors, and making it all happen. So that book will be out in by July 1 of this year, and will feature 5 authors, and the foreword will be written by another one of my authors. So I'm very excited about that. But I also have another book that's coming out.
Okay, tell us all about it.
Okay. So I have co-authored a book with Lois Kramer, who is a sales coach for speakers. She did a book. In fact, she was one of my first authors that did the blog to book, and her book is titled Book More Business. So she's a sales coach for speakers, and I got this idea for writing my next book, and the title is The Speaker Author: Sell More Books and Book More Speeches. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is that authorship and speaking go hand in hand, and one supports the other and can help build a really robust and compelling platform for your message. So we're working on the book. It's at the editors now, at the professional editors.
Yes.
And we are putting some of the marketing strategy together now. We're getting testimonials, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Do you and your clients self-publish, the majority, or go traditional, or in between?
I would say most of my authors are self-publishing now, or doing a hybrid self-publishing model. So it's a fee-for-service kind of a model. I have a few clients who are still working with traditional publishers, but they are far and away the minority of my authors. We find that for most speakers and authors, self-publishing is a way to have more creative control, really make more money, have more ability to do other products and services that are surrounding that book. So I'm a big believer in the power of self-publishing, even though my first 5 books were traditionally published.
Plus, with the turnaround time and their active speaking schedule, I mean, they could make money in a short period of time, couldn't they?
Oh, yes. I mean, sometimes all it takes is one speaking engagement, and it's paid for all of their coaching and publishing fees, and they're already making money. So that's all it takes, really, is if you're thinking about this and creating a platform for your message. Yeah, a book can sell your speech, and boom, you've made your money right then and there.
And then you sell more books once you
Yes.
get into you're live on the stage.
Yes.
How wonderful. Uh, let's see. We're technically out of time, but do you have time to share some of the exercises you were thinking of sharing
Absolutely.
with us?
Absolutely. So the first exercise, and what I'll do is just describe the exercise, and then folks can do them on their own time.
Okay.
But the first exercise is to envision your book is published. It is in your hands. What are you doing? Write a paragraph or two. I like to do timed writing. So something 5, 10, 15 minutes is all you need. And write what you are doing. Are you signing books? Are more people going to be influenced by your message? Are more people helped by your message? What's happening as a result of being an author? So again, starting with the end in mind. And I love that as a way to get really clear about what is the end, and picture that and envision that by this writing exercise. If you're more of a visual person, you could also create a vision board for your book. What do you want to accomplish? The next exercise is to get clear on your thesis statement, or what is your book about, your 30-second commercial. I love the whole notion of wearing a magic button. But you can also put it on your email signature, but actively talking about your book. What I love about a button is that it encourages other people to ask you, because sometimes you just forget that you need to be talking about your book. So, but having your thesis statement concise, so that it rolls off the tongue, so that it is not something you're laboring over 20 minutes into the conversation. I've had some authors where 20 minutes later, they still haven't really articulated their thesis statement. So for heaven's sakes, get it down to a 30-second commercial. And you do that by writing it out, entering it on your computer, printing it out, putting it in different places where you can see it, tweak it, and say it then over and over again till it is just part of the fabric of your being.
Yes.
And then the final exercise is really getting clear about your targeted reader. And I like to use targeted reader as opposed to target market, because market sounds so impersonal and so vague. I like to think about one person who is reading my book. And there's a series of exercises that I would encourage you to do. One is just to envision your reader and to write a letter to your reader. I love that exercise. Another great twist on that is to write a letter from your reader. So write a letter from the person who needs your book to you, and you will suddenly see why you're writing this book if you haven't gotten clarity about that already. Okay. So those are some really great quick exercises that you can do that will, I promise you, they will sharpen your writing, and they will give you clarity on your book and help you market your book as well.
I'm envisioning in that letter to my reader, if I was in their shoes, if I was them. And for some of us, most of us, we were that person. We were facing that obstacle. Christ helped us to overcome that obstacle. And then now we're sharing what we've learned through the process in our book. But then that you're talking about identifying the obstacles, the feelings, how that affects our lives, impacts our lives, what we would like our life to be like, what we imagine it would be like if we had this issue resolved. It can be very, very cathartic, can it?
Yes, it can. It really can.
I like it. I like it. Everything. Let me see. A couple of comments. Judy Morrow and Adria Wilkins are all on board with the Ask Me About My Book button.
Okay.
Will you just go somewhere and get that made up?
Yeah, I just have these made up, and I give them to all my coaching clients. And if I'm ever speaking in an event, I give them out. I go to book conferences, writers' conferences, and I hand them out to folks because I think they are just such a wonderful gift that every author loves this. And so I have them made up.
Show it to us one more time, please.
Mm-hmm.
Ask Me About My Book. There we go. Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And then just put it in a pin format. A note to you that audio set that you have now, as you repositioned it, that's perfect for your audio. Remember where that is, because that's picking us up very well.
Okay,
lastly,
good.
we want to say you do everything well. You're also an accomplished professional singer, and you have performed with symphonies before.
Yes.
That's a pretty big deal right there.
Yeah, and my church has just been invited to sing with the Louisville Orchestra for Beethoven's Ninth. So I'm really excited about that. That'll be coming up in May. And I sing with my church choir and so forth. So I love that.
Yeah. Just casually mentioned, I'll be singing with the Boston Orchestra. Symphony. Goodness gracious. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure, Patricia. Thank you so much for having me. And hopefully I've given some folks just a couple of little nuggets that will help them on their journey. Absolutely, you have. And if you're live or replay, also Cathy's links to her website and her Amazon author page and her Facebook author page. I've got all those links for you, and I will post them after the program, just like I always do. This has been episode number 253, the 3 parts of your book's strategic intent, with business book strategist Cathy Fyock. Tomorrow, international speaker Karen Whiting will join us. Christ has given her 2 new opportunities. She's going to show us how she's incorporating those duties into her regular duties, which are already, mounting. It's all about planning. We can do more than we think we can, but we cannot do it typically. We cannot do it on the spur of the moment. Is that a true statement in your life, Cathy? Yes. Cathy, Karen has been with us several times. She always inspires us. She's awesome. She's wonderful. We are here every weekday to serve you at 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern. This program is designed exclusively to help you learn the craft of professional writing and speaking from those who are already doing it. You have a message that Christ has gifted you with. There are people who are hungry for it. And online, there are gaps that we need to fill in order for people to know that we are the one that can answer their problems. We can help them understand how to overcome their obstacles. Fill in the blank with what it is that we know that they are hungry to know, and we will never see most of them this side of heaven. Our words, what Christ has taught us, we can improve the quality of our audience's life, and for some of them, their destiny, eternal destiny. What a privilege. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye. Thank you again, Cathy. Okay, bye-bye.